January 2022. Fellow Ambazonians, it is time to get into our history. And I want to remind you and tell you that in our history today, we have other people who will be telling our history. Some of them will be telling our history in a strange language. But if you don't understand the language, as a seer, as a child of God, as a historian, I will do everything possible to give you a summary of that strange language. Because I have understood that so many Ambazonians don't even know their history. I asked a young man some few weeks ago, about a month ago, when was the independence of Cameroon? I say 11 February 1961. I said, okay, when was the independence of Ambazonia? I said, the same day now, 11 February 1961. Oh my God. That's why I'm telling Ambazonians that sincerely, the generation of the less than 40 years are completely lost. Yes, from 40 years downward, they are completely lost. And from 50 years downward, they are a little bit lost. Because some of them had the opportunity 50 years ago to catch a glimpse of our written history. History by S.N. Tita, Geography by S.N. Tita, Royal Science by S.N. Tita. The Republic can take all that one, then burn them, destroy them, and make una for study the part of a butterfly. How many eyes does a fly has? What has that got to do with you? To tell you where you're coming from. Ambazonians, I want to let you know that we have been slaves, and many of us are contented in our slavery. But this generation don't wake up talk say they go dig out and they no go leave no man for inside that slavery. Well, I probably don't deceive many of una. There is nothing like West Cameroon. It be an appellation where I probably want to wipe away our identity. But we were Southern Cameroonians, not West Cameroon. That one I just history I learned them a few days ago, and I want to share them with Ambazonians. And I want to talk say the independence of La Republic of Cameroon, it will be on the 1st of January 1960, where Ambazonians will not be there with them. Ambazonians will get their own independence on the 1st of October 1961, after 1 year and some months. But many, many young people today, 30 years, 40 years, 45 years, they grew up in slavery, and so they don't get no difference, and they don't know nothing about the life where we would live before the time where France and La Republique, they decide for put us into a taste of slavery. And it continued until Biakan confessed for 2019, say we don't try for assimilate them. I know Waka. Yet Ambazonians, they still want for continue in that slavery, for the chop crumbs, where they fall from the second slave table. As France, we no get no nothing, don't claim for be their master. All right, before we dive into the whole thing, we'll hear our brother, Editel, we say, Papa got no Ambazonia. Please, Reverend, come in because we trust in what you are saying. God bless you.
I give you glory, Abba Father. You know me, you know my name. Abba Father, you know me, you know my name. Abba Father, you know me, you know my name. You know my name, oh Daddy. You know me, you know my name.
very much, Reverend Brasama. We be very, very grateful. So you be always available for come in and for share with the people of Ambazonia what be prevalent. I don't talk say I go share our Amba history for remind us how way it be start. And so other people then they with me for studio and some other media then they way they don't enter for contribute. More go for the first one will be STV for La Republic of Cameroon. This one has been for 2016 for see a continuation of our history. More listen to this brief talk. Remember, our lines are open already. Please, if you did listen, send this information to many other people because we get a very tough history today with other people contributing for which way it don't happen. All right, we'll listen to this first one, and then after that we'll talk.
That the teachers' trade unions have received a bribe, and the consortium took this opportunity to clear the air.
Professor, what's his name again? Gogomo. I want to inform Anglophone Cameroon that Professor Gogomo was a teacher in GTHS Bamenda before he went back to school and got to become a professor, and that he has desecrated professorship, and that he would not address justice, he would not address issues of injustice, shows that he is doing everything to protect his position as a privileged slave in this country. By Monday, we will know whether Yaoundé controls Anglophone Cameroon or we control our country, because where they are doling out huge sums of money that people won't be able to go to. The issues that we have raised are community issues, and everybody has an interest. That's why everybody is coming on board, putting their own contributions. After Monday, we will think of what else to do that would bring this government down on its knees, if by Monday we don't see them crawling and creeping.
I'm sure many of you don't hear which way this seasoned servant of God and the group of people they be called they say consortium, where they stand. I want to repeat that statement so that many of you now listen from the beginning and hear which way they go on. The first person where you go read paper where they cut them. Now the man where they call us say Agbobala, and then I will get Professor Tassa, and they will get other legal people where they stand around. More listen again for this particular statement. Let's go.
Businesses will not open, taxis, Benzikin, nobody will work, schools will not open, parents should not send their kids to school.
It was rumored that the teachers' trade unions have received a bribe, and the consortium took this opportunity to clear the air.
Professor, what's his name again? Gogomo. I want to inform Anglophone Cameroon that Professor Gogomo was a teacher in GTHS Bamenda before he went back to school and got to become a professor, and that he has desecrated professorship, and that he would not address justice, he would not address issues of injustice, shows that he is doing everything to protect his position as a privileged slave in this country. By Monday, we will know whether Yaoundé controls Anglophone Cameroon or we control our country, because where they are doling out huge sums of money that people won't be able to go to. The issues that we have raised are community issues, and everybody has an interest. That's why everybody is coming on board, putting their own contributions. After Monday, we will think of what else to do that would bring this government down on its knees, if by Monday we don't see them crawling and creeping.
Okay.
Businesses will not
I'm
open.
sure when I don't hear the reading of Agbobala, where it talks say Monday, no schools, no bikes, everything dead. The question where I go one make will ask Agbobala now. I say things they don't change. Where they talk now with water for a mop. We don't want to go back for that rubbish where they don't do. But we'll take that the law of first mention. Now you will work with them. What will be the law of first mention? Now, after they don't take their stand, as it be very usual with la Republic of Cameroon, They bring millions and millions of francs for bribe these very few people so that we will remain as slaves. Just like our brother say, Professor Ngogomo is a privileged slave. And he wants to make all man come bow down, then feed on the crumbs where did they fall from the Republic table. Without crumbs, where did they fall from the Republic table? Now even bread where they take them from we, seize them from us, and they will take a decision. Say Southern Cameroons, where unfortunately they don't give the appellation, say Anglophones, and we accept them. Southern Cameroons as Pata sang a talk. He said we will know on Monday that year 2016 whether La Republic control and has a right over the territory of Ambazonia, British Southern Cameroons. And it will happen because the people of Ambazonia, they will take that decision. And now, La Republic, you don't know, say, when these people, they mean them. I don't tell we in our history, and many people, they don't talk them. So whenever the British Southern Cameroons, they realize the marginalization, the maltreatment of the people of Ambazonia, when they rise up to make sure that they get what they want to get, which is their legal right, La Republic first started for their country. And because they know the reason, when they put the structures there is no way where the feet actually carry out the way we're supposed to be carried out. Look at the gentlemen. The question we were asked today now say, which are all these people in there? And truly speaking, which are in there? Well, we know say they become put a pace. That means they become set the steps where we will work. As we talk, so will be never again generation. That is the way they happen today. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for receiving in your conscience the freedom of the Ambazonian people. Then you voice it out. Even if you run back to your host today, you don't voice them out to the right people. That is why we will never let go until we get to Boya. All right, thank you for that. I say I go bring the history of Ambazonia today with different people on board. Let's get this musical pause, and then I will bring to you the second person where you get for talk our history. Remember, I don't tell you, say, some people will talk with a strange language. Don't worry. A day here, I feel interpret a number of the languages. But let's get this musical pause when I remember, and then we'll come back. much. Thank you very much, Sister Annie and Josephine. We are grateful because we still do remember the goodness of the Lord in Ambazonia, southern Cameroons. All right, we will cross over to the next person where he go talk for inside here, and then we'll now give you the interpretation. He go talk for quite some time. Don't mind any picture where you see and anything, but just believe and then go alongside with me, because at the end of the day, you go know which way we turn up. All right, we'll go.
Between Central and West Africa lies Cameroon, a country with a population of over 30 million people, a civil war-torn zone, and a dictator president that has held on to power for over 4 decades. Most African leaders are known for holding on to power, but Cameroonian leaders take it to a whole different level. From the National Assembly to the Senate, the country has some of the oldest and longest-serving members of government in the world. Cameroon has a very interesting but sad history filled with fraud, deceits, and disappointments. For over 6 years now, the country has been in a brutal civil war which has led to the death of millions of people, destruction of properties, and separation of families. Today, Cameroon is one of the most corrupt countries in the world with some of the most dormant and ineffective leaders. Its current president, Paul Biya, has become an embarrassment to the country. At 90 years old and 40 years in office, he is currently the oldest president in the world and the second longest serving president in Africa after Obiang Mbasogo, the current president of Equatorial Guinea. Biya makes at most 2 public appearances per year, the first on the 11th of February when the country is celebrating its Youth Day and 20th of May when the country is celebrating its National Day. In recent times, there has been 0 public appearances from the president. In fact, the country can crash and burn, and the president will not say a word, and that is how his regime has been for over 30 years. At the just concluded U.S.-African summit, he made a fool of himself when he was asked to address a crowd. First, he took forever to mount the stage, and when he finally did, he started asking if the audience had important personalities, and if it was important for him to speak. This singular act raised an intense conversation in the country if they still had a president. Before Paul Biya took power in 1982, Cameroon was a country on the
Yeah, I'm watching it too. I see them every day.
Curtains. They're always drawn in this place.
I know.
That guy seems like he's in charge of them. I don't know. I don't feel very good about this.
We have to report this.
Yes, absolutely.
The path to greatness. It was peaceful, economically buoyant, and was beginning to develop its
Sorry
infrastructure.
for that impasse with that particular. We just copied it out from.
Angry
the
people,
internet.
and widespread insecurity. To better understand how the country got to this point, it is important we go back down memory lane and trace the origin of its conflicts. If this is your first time on this channel, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notification so you don't miss out on any of our amazing productions. Prior to the First World War that started in 1914, Cameroon was under German rule for 34 years. During the First World War, France and Britain, who were allies, combined forces and defeated Germany. Cameroon was eventually partitioned between Britain and France, and since then, things have never been the same again. France was given 80% of the territory, while Britain received 20%. The reason Britain received a smaller portion was because Britain already had control over a lot of territories, coupled with the fact that they had already started invading the Cameroon from the southwest and northwest, since it was closer to Nigeria, which already belonged to them. After France and Britain took total control over their territories, they changed the name of the country from Cameroon to Cameroon, with both having different spellings. Both territories became French Cameroon and British Cameroon. France and Britain implemented their way of life and governance to their respective territories. France implemented the policy of assimilation, where they forced the locals to change everything about themselves and embrace the French culture and way of life. The locals were to speak like the French, eat like the French, and even dress like the French. Britain, on the other hand, due to its policy of divide and rule, further partitioned its own portion of Cameroon into two and named it British Northern Cameroon, which was administered as part of Northern Nigeria, and British Southern Cameroon, which was administered as part of Eastern Nigeria. Together, both territories were administered by the British central government in Lagos. The people of British Northern Cameroon were treated fairly, and they had a good relationship with Northern Nigeria, while the people of British Southern Cameroon felt slighted. They were discriminated upon and treated unfairly. In 1953, the Southern Cameroon's representatives in the Eastern Nigerian legislature demanded from Britain a regional status for the Southern Cameroons, with seat of government in Boya. In 1953, three activists from Southern Cameroon, by name Dr. Emmanuel Ndeli Mbela, John Nel-Fonchar, and Solomon Tading Nuna, left the National Council for Nigeria and the Cameroons, NCNC, established by the British, and formed a party called Cameroon National Congress, KNC, with the sole aim of fighting for an independent Southern Cameroon. After hard struggle from the Cameroon National Congress, Britain finally accepted a legislature in Southern Cameroon. The Order in Council of 1954 established in Boya a legislative house known as the House of Assembly of the Southern Cameroons and an executive council. During this time, Southern Cameroons gained limited autonomy as a quasi-region within the Nigerian Federation. The first seating of the newly created House of Assembly of the Southern Cameroon met on 26 October 1954. Dr. Emmanuel Bella Lifafi Ndeli emerged as leader of the Southern Cameroons. His official title was Leader of Government Business, the reason being that the Southern Cameroons was a quasi-region and therefore only semi-autonomous. In 1955, Ndeli's political views changed and he advocated for greater integration of Southern Cameroon with Nigeria, which made John Nel-Fonchar and Solomon Nuna to leave the party and create an opposition party called the Cameroon National Democratic. In 1957, United Nations Resolutions, terms 64 of 26 February 1957, called on the administering authorities to hasten arrangements for trust territories to attain self-governance or independence. After the resolution by the United Nations, Southern Cameroons attained the status of a full region and became autonomous and fully self-governing, and the House of Chiefs was also created. This meant an election was to be conducted to vote in the new Prime Minister. The election was mainly between John Nel-Fonchar's KNDP and Dr. Ndeli's KNC. Dr. Ndeli won the elections and became the first Prime Minister of Southern Cameroon. Few months later, Dr. Ndeli was replaced by John Nel-Fonchar, whose ideologies of functioning independently from Nigeria was highly accepted by the people of Southern Cameroons. Fonchar became the second Prime Minister on the 1st of February 1959. 1 month after Fonchar became Prime Minister, the United Nations decided to put an end to trusteeship by 1960. French Cameroon was the second sub-Saharan country after Guinea to gain its independence on the 1st of January 1960. Britain was asked to conduct a plebiscite in its territory, and they gave the people of Southern Cameroon two options. Number 1, do you wish to achieve independence by joining the Independent Federation of Nigeria? Number 2, do you wish to achieve independence by joining the Independence Republic of Cameroon? The reason why British Cameroon wasn't given a third option for independence was because it had been reported that Southern Cameroon was not economically capable of sustaining itself as an independent state. During the plebiscite, which took place on the 11th of February 1961, British Northern Cameroon, which had already been integrated to Nigeria, massively voted to join Nigeria, while British Cameroon reluctantly voted to join French Cameroon. British Northern Cameroon eventually joined Nigeria in June 1961, while British Southern Cameroon joined French Cameroon on October 1st. British Northern Cameroon, which was predominantly Muslims, formed.
My sister is turning 16. She's getting her license soon.
So thank you very much. I'm sure you are all listening to the history of Ambazonia as told by other people. I told you today I was going to allow other people tell our story. and I'm sure you are following up. I want you to listen very well, listen very attentively, because plenty things in the way we go talk. Yes, Ambazonians. Many of when I don't know with history, people in the outside the way they know the history. All right, let's get back to the hall. We don't hear them mention the people the way they will take over, but let's go.
And Taraba states of since the plebiscites, 11th February is celebrated in Cameroon as Youth Day, and it's also a public holiday. Now, the choice of calling this day Youth Day instead of unification is an entirely different story. This is one of the days where the president of the country is seen. After Southern Cameroon voted to join French Cameroon, it was agreed that Britain, the UN, Southern Cameroon, and French Cameroon will meet in July to discuss the terms of federation and draft the constitution. 2 weeks before the meeting, there were reports that more than 100 people were killed by terrorists in some towns in French Cameroon, particularly.
Listen, they say it was agreed that French Cameroon, France itself, Great Britain, and Southern Cameroons, they were to meet on a particular day in order to discuss the terms of the unification. Of course, it did not take place. Now let's listen.
In Loon, Barfang, Dioum, and Douala. The reports worried unification advocates who wanted British Cameroon to unify with French Cameroon. For this reason, Fubin was chosen to host the conference because it was peaceful, had a good climate, and had recently been renovated. The leaders of French Cameroon wanted to make an impression and portray Ahidjo as a good leader who had everything under control. Before the leaders of Southern Cameroon went to Founben, they met in Bamenda and deliberated on points that would be included in the constitution. Amongst many things, the leaders of Southern Cameroon who were in Bamenda agreed on the non-centralized federation to ensure that there was a distinction between the powers of the states and the powers of the federation. During the conference, which lasted 3 days, the United Nations and Britain didn't show up, leaving just the two Cameroons to their fate, which is where everything went wrong. Ahidjo, who was the president of the newly independent French Cameroon, presented a draft constitution to the people of Southern Cameroon. A conference, which was supposed to establish a new constitution, instead became a modification of Ahidjo's proposed constitution. There was intense deliberations and negotiations, and due to the fact that the French Cameroon delegation outnumbered the Southern Cameroon delegation, most of the proposals presented by Southern Cameroon were rejected and just a handful were accepted. At the end of the conference, some major decisions were reached. It was concluded that the country would become the Federal Republic of Cameroon, with both English and French as its official languages. However, a bicameral legislature and the decentralization of power was rejected, and instead, a unique camera system and the centralized system of government was adopted. According to reports, part of the Southern Cameroon delegation had wished for the conference to be extended so they could negotiate more, but some Southern Cameroonian leaders like Foncha were too happy to be reuniting with their brothers. Coupled with the fact that they were given VIP treatment during the conference, they didn't really see a need for the constitution for the new Federal Republic was agreed in Yaoundé in August 1961 between Ahidjo and Foncha, pending approval by the House of Assembly of the two states. In the end, the West Cameroon House of Assembly never ratified the constitution. However, on October the 1st, 1961, the Federal Republic of Cameroon nevertheless came to fruition with Ahidjo as president and John Bu Foncha as vice president. French Cameroon became East Cameroon and Southern Cameroon became West Cameroon. But for the purpose of this video, we shall continue using their former names for better understanding. On the 30th September, the British administrators left the Southern Cameroons. The next day, the Army of French Cameroon marched over the border. The mobile wing armed police of the Southern Cameroons was disarmed by them. It is described as a forceful takeover. An official from French Cameroon was appointed in the position of a Governor General over the Southern Cameroons. His official title was Inspector Federal Administration. He was accountable directly to the President of French Cameroon. Then followed a host of other French Cameroon civil servants, including subsequently its police force, which literally took over Southern Cameroons. In 1965, Augustin Juo became the Prime Minister of Southern Cameroon, but was sacked by President Ahidjo in 1968 and replaced by St. Muna. French advisors of President Ahidjo recommended the introduction of bilingual schools to educate and assimilate Southern Cameroonians in favor of French Cameroon. The aim was to slowly absorb the Anglo-Saxon Southern Cameroonians into the Francophone hemisphere. That happened additionally to the massive deployment of administrators from East Cameroon. At this point, tensions started rising in Southern Cameroon, which led to Foncha expressing his unhappiness with Ahidjo's progressive assimilation and marginalization of the people of Southern Cameroons. Ahidjo sacked him from the position of vice president and replaced him with St. Muna in 1970. In 1972, President Ahidjo declared to conduct a referendum about the form of the state. The Southern Cameroon's lawmakers heavily opposed and rejected that idea, stating that the articles in the
I want us to understand very, very well how Ahidjo, in the course of his wickedness, it dismissed Gomjoa and bring in Estimuna, where they be use them for finish up with us. But remember, say on the 31st of September 1961, they tell us say the Ahidjo and French terrorist soldiers, they overtook our nation by force. So let's go ahead and listen to the story. Ambazonians, we must wake up to this reality.
Documents that read thus: any proposal for the revision of the present Constitution, which impairs the unity and integrity of the Federation, shall be inadmissible, and proposals for the revision shall be adopted by simple majority vote of the members of the Federal Assembly, provided that such majority includes a majority of the representatives of each of the federated states, not through referendum. Ahidjo ignored the concerns. So under duress, and to avoid bloodshed, Southern Cameroonians submitted to Ahidjo's decision on 20th May 1972. The referendum was conducted with a favorable outcome for Ahidjo.
I want us to notice this document where they on the board now. We and yes. Many people they check say that story not just a made-up story. But if you really see them for here, say this one an ancient document where they be keep them. Because at that time, as different countries, Ambazonians, as Southern Cameroonians, they nobody understand French because they be talking English. So when they newly talk, say they want to join these people, and all the mechanism and articles of joining them in Nobi Waka, they start for do this, their mago. Can you imagine we and yes? What do you think the person where they only understand English say yes, he go think of we? He go surely say we means say no for French. And then if you click we, you talk say yes. If you click say yes, you talk say yes. Now the wicked game this way, Ahidjo don't begin play for a long time. All right, let's go.
Process was in violation of Article 47 of the Constitution of the Federation, which prohibited any attempts to change the federal form of the state. The name of the state was changed from Federal Republic of Cameroon to the United Republic of Cameroon. Ahidjo then divided Southern Cameroon into two parts, which he called Northwest and Southwest provinces, today known as regions. At the time, Southern Cameroonians were totally against Ahidjo's regime, and animosity started to increase among Southern Cameroonians because they felt totally disrespected and marginalized. Despite the fact that Southern Cameroonians were against Ahidjo's decisions, Cameroon, as a country, was doing well economically, but most resources was being moved to French Cameroon. Development projects proposed by Southern Cameroonian leaders were either rejected.
Come to TurboTax and don't do your taxes.
So as we are saying, as we talk, they continuously reveal the wickedness of La République du Cameroon when we just join them. When they talk say we go be in two equal states, they will get a different agenda where they don't put them in place. And that agenda it be been for completely and next we and make we for be, slaves. So it be a long-term plan, and we don't endure that plan for a long time. But today, we don't wake up talk say this is the no-nonsense generation. When I listen as it recount the story, let's go.
Due to health issues, Ahidjo could not continue as president, so he handed over power to Paul Biya, whom he had been grooming for a long time. When Biya took over power from Ahidjo, he further aggravated the whole situation by single-handedly changing the name of the country, the initial name of French Cameroon after independence. The change led to the removal of one star from the flag, which represented the two states, implying Cameroon was one and indivisible state. Southern Cameroon, through several efforts, fought to return to federalism, but all their efforts were abortive. And it was during their struggle to return to federalism, or worst-case scenario secession, that the word Ambazonia was first used by lawyer and political activist Fon Gorgi Dinka, where he called on the people of Southern Cameroon to secede and form a new state known as the Republic of Ambazonia. During the presidential election in 1992, Southern Cameroonians and a vast majority of French Cameroonians rallied behind John Frundi because they felt if they couldn't get secession, at least they should get someone from Southern Cameroon rule the country, because they believed if they had a Southern Cameroonian as president, they would return to federalism. Unfortunately, John Frundi lost to Paul Biya. Despite the massive protests that followed the proclamation of the results due to claim of elections irregularities, Biya was sworn in as president for a second term in November. The government of French Cameroon continued to suppress the people of Southern Cameroon, and in 1994 John Dufoncha and Solomon Muna, both former prime ministers of the Southern Cameroons, returned to the United Nations in New York and demanded separate independence for the Southern Cameroons. The mission to the United Nations preceded the All-Anglophone Conference AAC1, which took place in Boya, bringing together all Southern Cameroonian citizens who unanimously called for the restoration of the statehood of the Southern Cameroons. A second All-Anglophone Conference, AAC2, was held in Bamenda, at which the decisions of AAC1 were reiterated and a reasonable time given to French Cameroon to accept a return to the two-state federation, failing which the people of the Southern Cameroons would be left with no other option than to revive its statehood and revise its independence. The implementation of AAC1 and AAC2 were, however, stalled by the brutal arrest and incarceration of the leaders of the AAC, with several others escaping into exile. The desire for self-determination remained alive in the people of Southern Cameroons till October 2016, when everything escalated and took another turn. The crisis started with the teachers' and lawyers' peaceful protest. The lawyers had sent an ultimatum to the government of Cameroon calling for a redeployment of French-speaking judges from English-speaking courts and the translation of the Ohata Law from French to English. The Cameroon government initially responded by cracking down on lawyers' demonstrations, as well as the protesters and insurgents. This led to a full-fledged guerrilla war in Southern Cameroons, as teachers and students joined the lawyers in protest. Something that initially started as a peaceful demonstration gradually metamorphosed into a full-blown civil war. The lawyers and teachers were accused to be the cause of the crisis, but in reality, the ongoing crisis in Cameroon was caused by years of marginalization. On the 1st of October 2017, at the climax of the crisis, the separatists from Southern Cameroon declared the independence of Southern Cameroon, which led to more violence. On November 30th, 2017, the president of Cameroon declared war on the Anglophone separatists. This marked the start of a very violent confrontation between government forces and armed separatists. The conflict started in Manu Division, where the Ambazonia Defense Force operated. From there, the conflict spread to other parts like Libialam, Fako, Momo, Bui, and Ngokatunja. Several armed fractions have emerged, such as the Red Dragons, Tigers, and Seven Kata, amongst others. Several villages and towns have been burned down, such as Kwakwa, Kembong, Tado, and on 5th January 2018, members of the Ambazonian interim government, including its presidency Sisiku Julius Ariuk, were arrested in Nigeria and deported to Cameroon. They were subsequently arrested and spent 10 months at a gendarmerie headquarters before being transferred to a maximum security prison in Yaoundé. A trial started in December 2018. Fast forward to 2023, the governments have tried every single measure possible to put an end to the crisis to no avail. Apparently, the people of southern Cameroon are determined to end the crisis only after they secede from French Cameroon, or at least return to the 1961 constitution drafted during the Falmouth Conference. Since the beginning of the crisis, almost 1 million lives have been lost, property destroyed, and families separated. At this point, the government of Cameroon doesn't really know what to do anymore. As of the making of this video, Cameroon is one of the most unsafe countries in the world, especially if you intend to visit the English-speaking regions of the country. From the history we just explained in this video, it can be said that Britain and France ruined Cameroon. If you want to know how, then subscribe to the channel and stay tuned, because in our next video we will give you more details.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We are very, very happy that you can come in and articulate the history of Ambazonia. Yeah, Ambazonians, I be telling I say today, now many other people that they talk, and we don't hear. But this 19 minutes, this man don't show tell a little breakdown of the history, just jumping, but talking some very important facts. Any man we never hear, well, I beg to make you hear. We are going to cross over to 2016 again. I'll hear one of the Ambazonian advocates where it be stand for talk say Ambazonia must get back to its original state. They no be conquer we for war. And some of these things they be in the archives. We will listen to once again to this our pa, where they still hold on to the truth of which way an average Ambazonia in need for know. Now stay put and listen.
This year, it is a Saturday, just like it was the case in 1961. This is very symbolic. It is symbolic because this date should have marked our independence and freedom. Unfortunately,
Awamu will start for listening from the beginning. Let me start back again. Make it start right from the beginning. As we don't hear
our entry into oppression, marginalization, slavery and servitude, torture, rape, and all forms of imaginable brutality. It is for these reasons we should find no pleasure in celebrating this date, mischievously named the Youth Day. Those who chose this day of servitude for our youths did not have your interest at heart. Their intention was simply to distort and erase our history alongside all that we hold dear, our enviable educational and legal systems. On behalf of the leadership of our struggle, I therefore call on you all to rise up like one man and tell Yaoundé and the rest of the world that you want freedom. This message can only be put across through a 100% boycott of the 2017 Youth Day festivities all over southern Cameroon. Yaoundé has declared war on our people, and we must let this government know that no authority has ever won a war against its own people in history. Call your friends, text your brothers and sisters, and tell them that this is the time to take your destiny in your own hands. We hereby express sincere thanks to our compatriots in the diaspora for the protest marches organized in all the major cities of the world this Friday. Their contribution is invaluable and history is taking note. We also extend a word of encouragement to our leaders and all others abducted and illegally jailed in the course of this struggle. By this resounding boycott, you will also be telling your leaders and all those who are locked up that we will not let them down. We condemn with our last energy the ongoing violence and killings in Dop, perpetrated by government forces whose duty should rather be to protect the people. The arrest of the priest and parish chairman in church in Jakiri early today has greatly shocked us. This means even the house of our God has been desecrated. The indifference exhibited by Yaoundé to the grievances expressed by the lawyers and teachers, unions and associations since October 2016, brutality, the killings, the rapes and intimidations have caused the consortium to shift from its consideration of federalism as an option. It is now abundantly clear to us that Anglophones and Francophones can no longer cohabit in peace and harmony. By no fault of ours, but by the deliberate and wicked machinations of the government. Therefore, the resolute march for the total restoration of Southern Cameroons is hereby declared. Dear people, dear youth, as true as God is on the throne, it will not take long, and we shall be home. God is with us.
Thank you very much, Pa.
Fellow Southern
We have heard what you have said, and we do understand that the Republic of Cameroon has done everything possible not working. Sorry. I said that La Republica has made it abundantly clear that we are not a part and parcel of them, and that we're never together and we're never meant to be together. We don't hear this one last speech for 2016. For tell we how we history be start. But how did we come to this particular place where we're inside? More will listen to this. Just listen to this again. It's the foreign language.
Avec émotion, l'assassinat de 4 militaires camerounais et de 2 policiers dans le sud-ouest de notre pays. Suite à la disparition de ces 6 valeureux militaires et policiers, je voudrais présenter mes condoléances aux familles éprouvées, ainsi qu'à nos vaillantes forces de défense et de sécurité. Et je pense que les choses sont désormais parfaitement claires pour tout le monde. Le Cameroun est victime des attaques à répétition d'une bande de terroristes se réclamant d'un mouvement sécessionniste. Face à ces actes d'agression, je tiens à rassurer le peuple camerounais que toutes les dispositions sont prises pour mettre hors d'état de nuire ces criminels et faire en sorte que la paix et la sécurité soient sauvegardées sur toute l'étendue du territoire national. Je vous remercie.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
We don't hear by ourselves how this criminal, at that time, maybe still get his small senses. He actually declared war on Ambazonia. You know, see the atrocity where you untrained terrorist soldiers they do for Ambazonia. But he can't reach for them and he declare war. And at the war this way they go on. If Chelsea has he declared a war, immediately Ambazonians they go be wiped out. But you forget for no. Say as Ambazonians, 2 cubes of sugar, they no fit melt. I don't tell Ambazonians, I say even strangers and visitors and some semi-mad people, they still talk about Ambazonia. I remember this La Republique historian, he did for United States. So he go around the White House and he give a report. I just pick out this excerpt from way to way. Somebody way it is stay for, like you look at him, he look like a madman. But listen to what he told this person when the person mentioned that he's from Cameroon. Let's just listen.
Ici depuis des décennies. Et voilà. Et voilà, voilà leur organisation. Hello sir, how are you doing?
The Somali flag over on the side. Let's see. I don't
Je vais lui
see,
poser une question.
Usually we have the Uganda flag over here, but maybe my friend took it inside. Maybe the wind. And then, of course, the Ethiopian flag.
So, sir, I have a couple of questions for you. My name is Numa. I'm from Cameroon. So, what are you here for?
Wow, you're from Ambazonia.
Ambazonia?
What? Yes, before those French came and changed the name to Cameroon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. Tell me.
You tell me. Why do you still use the colonization name Cameroon? You should use the name Ambazonia and be proud Ambazonians. That's what I say.
So you know
European influence on Africa. Africa's beautiful. Africa's the richest continent on this planet because it's got the lithium, the gold, the diamonds, and Africa constantly gets raped by European nations. And
So you can now see that even this man who looks like a semi-madman living in a thatched house and living in a place that you can hardly find some Africans living in this kind of a place. When this guy just mentioned that he is from Cameroon, he said, no, Ambazonia. So even people that we think that their senses are not correct, they know Ambazonia. I think we have the right. This is the time for us to get up and get our land back, Ambazonia. Did you hear him? He was urging Ngango, what is that guy's name? That he should be called Ambazonia and not Cameroon. All right, now that's just to tell you that we are on the right footing. And that's why I'm putting on Ambazonia, the 55th nation of Africa. Whether they like it or not, that is the name we have. That is who we are. Ambazonia, the 55th nation of Africa. See, please start to propagate that. Try to tell people. When somebody asks you a question, just go ahead to tell them Africa has 55 countries. And Ambazonia was seemingly forgotten when it got its independence on the 1st of October 1961. You'll be doing the right thing and calling the things that be not as if they are, of which they actually are. But unscrupulous and wicked people have tried to hide our identity. And so I want us to cross over now to another media in La République du Cameroon, and we hear this, how do you call him? La Republican, giving a history of Ambazonia, of which some Ambazonians are ashamed to talk. But many people who have now understood where we came from, they now know that we are not brothers. Even though Fon Chabitok say, we'll go join with brother on the other side. These people are increasingly knowing that we were not brothers. There was a game plan somewhere. We will cross over and we will listen. I tell you, say today, I bring you history from another angle. More, listen to this.
En 1972, nous étions déjà nés, on n'avait pas de problème. Nous fêtons l'union avec les anglophones. Nous avons accueilli les anglophones. Comment nous avons géré les anglophones? Prenons quelques clichés. 50 ans, on n'a jamais eu un anglophone secrétaire général de la présidence. On n'a jamais eu un anglophone ministre des Finances. On n'a jamais eu un anglophone ministre des Finances. Aucun anglophone n'a jamais
somebody from Ambazonia, the Minister of Finance.
C'est en 2018, quand la guerre éclate.
We've never had anybody from Ambazonia as a Minister of Armed Forces. 50 years, we have never had anybody from Ambazonia in a vantage position.
Un anglophone ministre de la et l'autre ministre de l'enseignement secondaire. Pour croire qu'on va contacter les anglophones. Alors, et vous allez voir que, s'il vous plaît, Duval, c'est très important. Vous allez voir que même le poste de premier ministre qu'on donne aux anglophones, aujourd'hui là, avec la conduite des affaires de l'État, avec la marginalisation du premier ministre actuel, le docteur Dion Ngouté, on se rend compte que le poste de premier ministre est un poste vide de toute substance.
Listen, after 2000 okay, I'm sure some of you who are reading it, you are hearing what is it is being translated into English on the screen. You can watch it there very well. All right, let me allow him to continue because it's being translated. Even the post of prime minister typically held by he says it is
deuxième cliché.
Post.
Avant 1972, il y avait au Cameroun occidental une société hydroélectrique qu'on a trouvée, Powakam, avec des barrages hydroélectriques.
He is now naming the number of things that have been destroyed by la République du Cameroun when they came in and invaded us.
Le référendum de 1972 a permis de dissoudre toutes les institutions du Cameroun anglophone. Vous avez fermé Powakam.
On a pris le groupe électoral.
Aujourd'hui, s'il vous plaît, aujourd'hui, vous avez construit le barrage de Mekin, le barrage de Memvele, le barrage de Nachigal, le barrage de Lompanga. Avant ça, il y avait Sonlolo. Il y avait le barrage de Lardou. Quel barrage en 50 ans vous avez construit dans la zone anglophone, ayant supprimé l'unique barrage qu'il y avait là-bas avant la réunification? Alors, vous comprenez que, et troisième cliché,
this is a francophone telling our history, and the journalists, they try to stop him so that he should not unleash the cat and bring out the can of worms. But the man insisted. Just listen.
Cliché du
I want you to listen.
Prenez les routes. Prenez l'axe Loum-Kumba, 43 km. Un axe vital pour relier les anglophones et les francophones. Loum-Kumba, 43 km, 50 ans. Prenez Bafoussam-Bamenda, 70 km. 50 ans, on ne l'a pas construit. Prenez Bamenda-Bengui, chez l'ancien président Salomon Kanten Mouna, 43 km, 50 ans. Prenez Kumba et Kondo Titi, chez le premier ministre actuel, 50 ans. Prenez la Rim Route, 50 ans. Qu'est-ce que vous avez fait pour que les anglophones sentent que nous avons rejoint nos frères francophones? Et on puise le pétrole à Limbé. Mais regardez ce qui se passe. On a mis les pipelines pour que le pétrole qui est pompé à Limbé soit acheminé au port de Douala et mis dans les bateaux pour éviter de créer un port en eau profonde à Limbé. Depuis 20 ans,
well, they don't cut you as if one forgive the whole story and the whole history of the oppression and the oppressing of the Ambazonian people. Remember, it talk in that their, oppressive language. I call it a violent an oppressive language, which is French. But thank God that some good Ambazonia actually, when we see the zombie as they talk, he go ahead for write them, translate them for we directly, so that we will hear which way to go on. So Ambazonians, when away they born when less than 50 years ago, he don't talk the whole story, because if now only me at the talk, when I say, oh no, we know this pastor, we know this our Amba history, but some strange people don't can talk to the point that somebody way it looked like a crazy man in America. They even look at him. Immediately he hear the name of somebody Cameroon. He said, oh, you are from okay. Why do you have the name Cameroon? Change from that name Cameroon and tell us, in fact, that you are from Ambazonia. I mean, even semi-mad people who are not considered as people. He's living that place you see where they inside there. Now a house that and he did directly opposite the White House. Even for Africa, they don't take that man. In fact, they don't kill him. But that one in house where they permanently stay there. And the people that they pass, they see, they go their way. Ambazonians, listen again. Listen to how the man attacked the journalist, or he talked for the journalist.
Et voilà leur organisation. Hello, sir, how are you doing?
The Somali flag over on the side. Let's see. I don't
Je vais lui poser une question.
Usually we have the Uganda flag over here, but maybe my friend took it inside. Maybe the wind. And then, of course, the Ethiopian flag.
So, sir, I have a couple of questions for you. My name is Numa. I'm from Cameroon. So, what are you here for?
Wow, you're from Ambazonia.
Ambazonia?
Yes, before those French came and changed the name to Cameroon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. Tell me.
You tell me. Why do you still use the colonization name Cameroon? You should use the name Ambazonia and be proud Ambazonians. That's what I said.
So you know
European influence on Africa. Africa's beautiful. Africa's the richest continent on this planet because it's got the lithium.
He goes on from there and picks up and start to talk about Ambazonia and Africa and so on. So even though he live like a beggar and he write all kind by kind thing, them you can see say the way the person be, he not be like an important person, but he get some sense and he know by intuition. He put all kind by kind flag them for day. So Ambazonians, when I the tonton, I don't know which way when I the tonton do with La Republic. We don't see. Say even people who we think say they don't get sense, living in some touch places, they know Ambazonia. And we know our Pabi come out and if we talk directly for the Ambazonian people to rise up and take our land, take our nation, make Ambazonia be our country. Because if we don't deceive many Ambazonians, and at that time when Pata somebody talk, they will talk say them teacher the way they start this fight, La Republic don't corrupt them. They don't take money because everybody knows La Republic. And that was almost true. Because some people, where they be there with them, was that in day today. They don't try to make arrangements in no worker. So our history is very important. We started off for talk say we no go give up and we no go give up. I know a number of people during the course of this journey, they don't see mistakes, They don't see and hear lies. They transfer, go to do and to study and to verify whether the things the way they tell them, they be true. But at the end of the day, they discover, say, they were just being deceived. Like the deceit is going on everywhere and in so many ways. But the truth, it remains to be the truth. And that is what we are standing for. And anybody who want to stand for the truth, you need to be with your LGA. You need to be with this interim government. Because with the endeavor for tell you nothing but the truth. With the endeavor for correct our mistakes. Because we not be perfect. And that's why some people, they check say, oh, when I don't take this fight, turn them into church. No. We even wish they make all Ambazonians, then they like the people the way they did for interim government. May they be sincere. When they make mistake, may they talk their mistake. Yes, making no get lies and propaganda and corruption of the Republic for try to bring them into this fight where we don't talk say, na Papa God for heaven, he be in charge. If truly na Papa God for heaven be in charge, then you be on the wrong place where you want to use lies. Oh, this man don't do this. Oh, this one don't do this. Oh, this one don't do. Instead of sitting down, you get an idea, you join with your LGA, you bring up the idea, we discuss. Then for sit behind and you begin to throw stones and criticize. Oh, this interim government begin for talk so. Because this group they talk so. Oh, they begin for join this group. So that make them join together, be group of the no. We don't pass that stage of group. Yes, we don't pass the stage of group. We be now a government. And if we be a government and you be an Ambazonian, place there for you for inside this government. Go to your LGA, go to your county, your opinions, your strategies, your suggestions, your plans, they go be examined. And whichever way they fit in, we'll put them into the place. But when you stay afar, you point fingers. You know if you do nothing. I'll tell you, say, you waste time. Because we, Ambazonians, we don't go. And today, I want to run up by telling the Ambazonians that on Friday, that's after tomorrow, we will start back our educative, very enriching, instructional, teaching program on ABC at 4 p.m. Amba time, what we call say Ethics for a Developing Ambazonia. We'll go back on the air for repeat that program. So please don't miss this program. We are starting it afresh on Friday, 4 p.m. Amba time. May God bless the people of Ambazonia as we get ready for that program. Above all, don't forget, Saturday, 25th of February 2023. That is after tomorrow. We get the federal draft. Yes, for the Federation of Ambazonia. We'll get a draft. Now, the foretaste of that small draft we will do where when I hear firepower for ground. One for tell Ambazonia to say most of the chief people them for inside the interim government, they don't prove themselves and they don't go. Most of the chief people, they don't go. And now they struggle. Our people, the way they did for home front, where they will defend home front, they will be deceived by some of these chief people them, where they thief the money where they be draft them for them, give them, they send them for this our people them for different homeland, They personalize the money. Then they give the money. They tell them, say, "Nami asena." So they become private owners, and they start to create militias, private militias, by private people, when active people. The money don't finish. We no there for raise the money again. The thing where they do, they tell the people they for home front, say, "May they not fight. May they shame the interim government." But because this fight now, God get them, not the interim government. Many of them don't realize. Before the one realize, plenty of them don't die because of deceit of some thieves, where they enter thief, plenty of the thing the way we put in place. Then they point finger for with presidents, say na he be thief man. We're up till now. Some doctors and learned Ambazonians, they still wait proof from people like Nanchop, where they will get the proof, and where they will get the proof. I don't like to call me some of these coopers, their names for here, but I want to talk say they still wait for proof. Ambazonia, don't be deceived. There is no proof from these people. They are the proof that they have stolen. With that note, I want to thank all Ambazonians. For telling us, no forget Friday and Saturday, we get a very important program where Ambazonians get into it. I will talk again tomorrow, but for now, more remember. God bless you.
Provides my